Welcome to Power Fridays Live. I'm your host, Janelle Pulley Brazotra, and my co host, Dave. Are you there, Dave?
Oh no, I'm muted. So I'm Dave Gresso. Sorry. I'm speaking and my lips are moving, but no noise is coming out. So yes, Dave Gresso. I'm co-host of Power Fridays Live. Good evening, Janelle. How are you doing? Tiffany, it's great to have you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you so much, Tiffany Watkins, for being with us this evening. I am super excited to have you as our entrepreneur guest of the evening. And you are a business owner with Vanguard Media Online and Take Back Coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your coaching practice?
Yeah, sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on your show. This is very exciting. Who doesn't like to talk about the things that they do, right? I am Tiffany Watkins, and I do own Vanguard Media Online. It's a space for women and business and stories and profiles. And I also am the proprietor of Take Back Coaching, which is a method to take back your control in your life, in your work, in your business, just in general. I make it my mission. It is a personal mission of mine to provide voice to those who feel that they just otherwise wouldn't have one. And the other part of that mission is to help people see the true secret that the voice is really within you and that it can come out any given time. You just have to remove the toxicity from your life. So, I say all that to say that helping people really is my business. And it brings me the greatest joy, and I think it fulfills me the most.
Well, that's beautiful. That's wonderful you said because there are a lot of people out here in the world that are looking for something and they don't know quite what it is in some cases. But when they look and they can talk with someone and find out that, hey, this person can support you so that you can take your power back and in what you do with your strategies. Can you tell us a little bit more about the strategies that you utilize with your leadership and your coaching practice?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. I think they're tried and true. And when I state them, they're all oddly familiar because we use these all the time with other people, like with our children or a friend who's going through something. The first strategy is to teach people how to treat you. We know what we want out of relationships. We know, and that relationship can be at work, that relationship can be with a partner, your child, anyone. We know what we want, and we're really quick and easy to tell someone, oh, hey, you know what? Kick him or her to the curb. That's not the right person for you, but you won't say it for yourself. So, teaching people to teach others how to treat them is the first key because that institutes boundaries and a level of control in your personal life that you just kind of kick aside. The next strategy is really implementing those boundaries and understanding boundaries. People think boundaries are a way to put your arms out and go, hey, you don't pass me. In essence, it is, but truthfully, remembering that your boundaries apply to you and not to other people is really key in seeing how you provide voice for yourself. When I say, hey, you know what? I just can't take that on right now. That's not me doing anything to anyone else. That's me doing something for myself. And that should be honored. Now, the rest of my strategies go along with my program, so I'm not going to bore everybody with the long details. This is really tailored person to person or group to group. So, what I will say is that these strategies are, again, tried and true. It's just something that we often forget because of toxicity in our lives, days in, days out. Go to work, come home, run the business, business runs you. We know how that is, fellow entrepreneurs. So, we forget that we have to honor these ways of taking back our control. And sometimes guidance is all that you need, just to remind you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Tiffany. And always, there's something that happens in our life that leads us down this pathway of our purpose. What was it for you?
For me, it really was realizing that I was not living my life. Everything that I was doing was because this was what was expected. I was expected to be a professional. I was expected to be scholarly. I was expected to do the best always. That's just the way that I was raised. I jumped headlong into technology. At the time, it was the height of everything you could do, so many burgeoning efforts for new ways, to have the things that we take for granted today, like portable devices and things like that, Wi-Fi. I worked on all of those things. I was a network infrastructure engineer. And most people were just like, wow, oh, that's great. That's wonderful. And it was. I won't lie to you. It was. But it didn't fulfill me. And when everybody's expectation was, oh, well, you're doing great. You're flying here. You're flying there. What a life. And I was inside crumbling, going, oh my goodness, what a life. And I knew for a fact that I had to do something else. I had to do something different. And I needed to be better. So I let it all go. It was the first time that I ever instituted a boundary that served me and
Wow.
didn't serve everybody else. And it was, I mean, as cliche as it is, it was literally life changing, but it was life changing. And I will never, the feeling that I have, even when I share the story, is warm and I love it. It never goes away. And it's been 30 years, and that feeling is still there with me. So I always know it was the right path to choose, but I also know that it's long lasting. Once you do it, it sticks with you.
Wow, that's amazing. That's truly powerful. It just touches my spirit and makes me feel warm and all over because I knew it took something to get to that point. And the take back, and I love that about the name of your business, the take back coaching and taking back your life, like getting back to who you know yourself to be. And tell us a little bit about how you grew up and got to the point to where you had an opportunity to be like, oh, this was how I grew up, but then this is what I learned in my journey.
Sure. I think I grew up pretty standard American family. My parents were entrepreneurs, and I learned a lot through their experiences. So I will always say that I learned a lot of things through the mistakes of my folks, and the wins that they had. I benefited. My brother and I benefited from those. We lived a pretty privileged life. But we never really lost sight, my brother and I, that you have to work for everything that you have. As a family of color, my parents being entrepreneurs at that time period, that was not something that was truly common for them to be truly successful. They had a lot of hard knocks, but I know that they never let it get them down. And from a child's perspective, it just seemed like everything was hunky dory all the time. But with my adult viewpoint, I see that there was so many hurdles that they couldn't do anything about, discriminations and biases that were in place that they had to navigate around, which means they had to be crafty in their businesses too. But for my family, the one thing that I know that they showed me is that failure was never an option. It just wasn't on the table. Never going to take no for an answer. And any barrier put up is easily taken down with the proper strategy. And so I really pulled that into my adult life. It's really shaped me to be the person I am today in all aspects, not just business.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'll never forget. I know that there may have been some challenging times for our parents, and my dad experienced the same thing, and in a sense where you had to purchase things, and there was more charge that were given to people of color that they it was more expensive for them to do business in some cases. But I'm glad to know that your parents helped navigate through that times and then helped you learn the proper strategies and navigate through those times as well because navigation through life. That's what we do.
Yeah, they're trailblazers. That's the way that I look at it because, both my parents, my father more because he was a little older, remember and lived through very heavy Jim Crow laws. My my father, he is not with us anymore, but if alive today, he could tell you that he remembers seeing like colored fountains and whites only theater and having to navigate a very strict path due to those laws. So there's a lot when I say that my folks were entrepreneurial coming from the time period that they came from. It says a lot for their character and that they really had that kind of I'm going to advocate for what's best. I know I come by it honestly of just going, no, that's wrong, and we're going to correct these wrongs. So it's wonderful to have learned from that. I'm very, very privileged to have had that as a role model.
Well, thank you so much. As you know, we are in the month of the February for Black History Month, so thank you so much for that historical journey. That's
Certainly.
very and thank you so much. And I'm glad that it's impacting you today as well to have a successful business. And Dave, is there anything for you, knowing Tiffany and wanting to know more about Tiffany being the entrepreneur that and the incredible woman that she is?
Yeah, so I'm always inspired by, hearing the stories of those who have really overcome the odds and adversity. And so just hearing your story about your parents, I was going to ask, right, what, as you really did overcome some obstacles yourself in making the transition that you made in your life, Tiffany, how you did it. And I can see a large part of that, a huge catalyst was your parents and the guidance that they provided, the inspiration that they gave you. But certainly, I have no doubt that making that kind of a life transition brought challenges into your life as well. So, tell us a little bit about those challenges and struggles as you made that transition.
Sure. Yeah, there was. I don't want to sugarcoat it. Nothing is easy, especially something as broad as going, you know what? I'm going to retire from doing this, and now I'm going to go headlong into who knows what. But I said, I help a lot of people find their way, and people rely upon me in a community. Why am I not doing the same? And my community was there to go, no, you can do this. There's so many other options out there for you. And subsequently, I almost consider myself a Jane of all trades. So not only have I been in the tech space, I also spent some time in the fitness space as a fit manager and a fitness coach. Collecting clients that way. And we know that when we help people through a fitness journey, a lot of that is psychological as well as physical. So it really was in the same genre of helping people, but just in a different and physical sense. I learned a lot and studied a lot with, lots of different organizations, but I am NASM trained. And that's where I held my CPT certification for the longest time and some other national certifications to be able to help people. I also, headlong into advocacy. I never looked back. I started my journey with advocating for people when I was about 17 or 18 years old. And in the late 80s and early 90s, I remember, just standing outside handing out condoms and asking people to either wrap it up or abstain in front of establishments I wasn't even old enough to get into, just because I knew that we had to do something to kind of bring down the numbers on HIV and AIDS. I also signed people up to vote, explaining to them the power of their voice through learning the process of how to cast a vote, how to choose a party, what it means to cast your vote. So, so many different ways that I was able to help people. It just turned into creating strategies for this, strategies for that. And then I realized this can be applied to so much. And I love to write. And at that point, I started crafting these methods to build and to grow. So when, we have a lot of different avenues of business, people were trying to find, different ways of freedom. I started helping people pair their voice for freedom with their desire to thrive in business. And it kind of steamrolled into what I do with Vanguard Media Online, which is listening to women, listening to their journey, and then providing a platform for them to be able to speak it in their own words. That's another thing we don't do with Vanguard. We haven't talked about that much, but Vanguard is a media company, but we have a magazine that really champions the voice of women, and we do interviews, but we publish only what the women say. Now, of course, we clean up grammar, we clean up those types of things, but I never ever quiet a voice. That is your time to shine. And so take it as that. We don't do ads because of that. I don't sell ad space for that like other magazine publications. This is solely to be able to profile women, their journey through business, their journey through a medical journeys, life journeys, and things like that, right there for them. And so, I say all that to say there was a million things for me to do. but they were all wrapped around one purpose and one journey. And through the help of my community and being kind of like infiltrating all these different areas, I was able to see that and make it into the businesses that I have today.
Wow, that's amazing. So, two words come to mind when I listen to you talk: courage and initiative, right? You had immense courage to take on some of the things that you've done, but also the initiative to see problems and step in with solutions and not really being afraid to fail or come up with the wrong solution, but just taking the best idea that came to your mind and being able to courageously carry that out. So I applaud you for that. That's amazing. I wish we had more people that were willing to take those kinds of steps to make a difference, because I truly believe the world would be a better place if that was happening. So something else that comes to mind that I've heard you say several times is it's a little bit of a shift: toxicity, right? Several times you talked about toxicity, and you sort of brought boundaries into that conversation. What is it that you mean when you say removing the toxicity from your life? And how does that sort of correlate with the boundaries?
Absolutely. I do talk about toxicity a lot because I think people need reminders that it is there, because people will take toxic situations that they've created and try to paint a picture that it is not them, that it is you. So that's what we talk a lot now about: gaslighting. And I think that we throw around a lot of words,
Wow.
but we're not throwing these words around properly. And it all starts with the core, and that core is toxicity in, say, even a work relationship. You go to work, we spend most of our days at work. Those of us who don't have these positions where we can run in and out, you're an hourly employee, you show up, you dedicate 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. That's a lot of time right there. And if there is an employee or a manager or someone there who just seems like you guys just always are rubbing each other the wrong way, it never seems balanced. There's always something you didn't do right and always something they're on your back for. That is a toxic situation that you have to figure out, where is that level of toxicity coming from. It's as simple as that. It could be coming from management, another employee, or it could very well be coming from you. But you don't take the time to figure out where it's coming in, you're doing yourself a disservice. And then your life starts to be not what you wanted. You're not fulfilled. It's not enough just to get the paycheck. It's not enough to have some place to go during the day. And we all know where that takes us, into a deep, dark hole. And from there, we can't even get anything done. And that starts to affect home relationships, those relationships with our kids, our partners. And you're wondering where that came from, because you just couldn't identify when things became toxic. It really is as simple as, maybe a misunderstanding. Maybe you came in and said, "Hey, hi, everybody. You're having a wonderful Monday morning." But they're just like, "Get out of here. I don't want to see a smile until after 4 cups of coffee." And now you feel awkward. You feel maybe they don't like you so much. Okay. So even a simple situation like that, there's a level of toxicity in that. You're thinking, you're in your head. What did they think? What do they, oh, I don't know. Instead of going, "Hey, you know what? Sometimes people have bad days. Maybe I did come in here a little bit strong and bright, and everybody, it's Monday and there's a lot going on." Instead of settling that out for yourself, you created a level of toxicity for yourself, wondering what was in their heads. We have to be willing to unpack these so that we can stop having to unpack stuff, if that makes sense. Be able to examine what's going on and really weed out those things that are severely toxic to you in your day, so that you can create a better space.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that,
Right.
because I don't think a lot of people spend the time really working on themselves and seeing how they impact everyone around them, right? And I don't think a lot of people realize either that everything we do, say, and think ultimately does have an impact on everyone in our sphere of influence. So this is a really great conversation. So another question about this: what are some steps that those watching and listening right now could start taking immediately to remove that toxicity from their life?
100%. Start taking stock of all the situations that are not just basic situations, not your hello, how are yous, not your regular routine, but start taking stock of conversations that you have that you feel just didn't go the way you want it to. And realizing the portions in which you are responsible for, and understanding where you can exercise your boundaries for yourself to stay out of those types of situations, conversations. The second thing, and I think this is the most powerful, is understanding no. Understanding when it's really just no for you, and honoring yourself in that situation by using no. Oftentimes we give up a lot of power by saying, yeah, oh, okay, I can get it done. I can get it done. When you know that you're going to either have to do a late night, you're going to have to say no to that date, or maybe you can't get to your Billy's soccer game or whatever, but you said yes anyway. You obligated yourself. You didn't honor yourself. So using no.
A lot of times I think not being able to say no already identifies a level of toxicity just because we're unable to. There's something going on there in our psychology that's making us feel a certain kind of way.
Oh yeah.
So I want to move forward. This question came to mind 2 questions ago, and I'm going to go ahead and ask it now. Like, what, Tiffany? What is your vision? Right, you have your whole life mapped out before you. You have a lot of powerful things that you've already done, and I know you have a lot of things lined up. What is your vision going forward for your clients, for your life, for whatever it is that you plan to do? Share that with us.
Sure. My vision is to make myself obsolete. I would like to help enough people, have enough programs in place that people can help themselves at some point and don't need to reach out to find this guidance that everyone is looking for. Sure, as a business owner, do you want the clients? Of course you do. But when I look at the human condition and I say, we are a being that's designed to do for ourselves, I'd love to make myself obsolete.
That's excellent.
Wow.
Replicate yourself. Replicate yourself. That's, we talk about leadership, and, a lot of times we don't realize that the whole point of leading is to be able to replicate the things that you've learned and to transfer the wisdom and knowledge that you've gained as a leader onto others so that they can become leaders as well. Janelle, you were trying to step in. Sorry.
Oh no, no need to ever apologize. I'm just in total agreement. I just am excited about what you shared, Tiffany, to become obsolete. That is just amazing. And to Dave's point is to be able to duplicate yourself and just leave this world a better place and have your environment be the best that it can be. And that's what I hear from you whenever you share that.
Indeed, indeed.
So, Tiffany, share, if you don't mind, right? I'd love for you to share sort of we'll call it a client success story, right? Tell us about someone that you've walked through this process with, and some of the positive results that they've experienced.
Sure. Just I'm going to say probably in the last quarter of 2022, so relatively recently, I was working with someone who had, political aspirations, and which is a great. I love working with policy, so I was just like, yes, I'm so happy to help you. Um, you know, he brilliant, absolutely brilliant, very, very passionate, and he was having trouble with kind of trying to table the passion to be able to have the conversation on these heated subjects with opposing views. And for me, as a public speaker and an advocate, I know how valuable opposing views can be, because that's where we start changing minds. Other than that, we're preaching to the choir. And so tabling your passion just enough to be able to get your point across is really key in these heated debates. And, we are talking about changing laws in an area to include certain types of licensed businesses under regulations in areas where predominantly there are people of color and those at a marked disadvantage and marginalized. So you can kind of guess how heated these discussions can be amongst councilmen and things like that, and advocates. So we worked together for about, I'm going to say 3 or 4 months, just writing comments for public comments for council meetings, and just kind of finding out how to still have a voice that had passion in it, but passion wasn't at the forefront that the facts and the issues and what was wanted was at the forefront. And at the end of our quarterly session, he was ready, and he is just, I mean, to right now, I just received an email from him not too long ago saying how thankful and how grateful he was to be able to, it just clicked with him. He finally was able to see, yes, I'm still passionate, but I can have this conversation without taking my notebook and slamming it on the table because I'm just fed up with being marginalized, right? He finally felt heard. I said, they can't hear you through the passion. All they're hearing is the passion, and it's pushing too many of their buttons to be able to properly hear you. And he finally got them to hear him. It was
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah, so what a powerful thing in the time we're living in. Like, it just gets me excited. I wish there was more you could share on that because I feel like a lot of us could use that mindset, that mind shift, if you will, that will allow us to table that passion, to be able to have those tough conversations because it is possible. I've had a few of them myself, and amazing things happen, new perspectives form when we allow ourselves to have those conversations as well. So that is great.
Yes, and that's truly great because that's one of the things that I find about myself whenever I step into a room. It's like it lights up like automatically. People tell me, and it's like too bright for other people. And that was one of the things. It's like my passion just shines through my face in some cases. So I'm glad to know that that's the kind of work that you do because I wear my, it's like I wear my passion on my sleeve and people know exactly how I feel about it. And maybe not so much should they in some cases. And so I'm so glad to know that that's another aspect of how you can support people. And Tiffany, it's been a great conversation. I am super excited. I know we can just keep, Dave, it's like we could keep leveling up, right? And but Tiffany, now is the time where I would love for you to share how people can reach you and when you would be available to support whatever their needs may be and what kind of needs you would be able to provide. Please share.
Certainly. Thank you again so much for having me on. This has been a wonderful conversation. Folks are free to reach me at my website, which I believe you can see right now, takebackcoaching.com. Feel free to go there and sign up for communication. I will get to that immediately. I have room right now for probably three more clients one on one and maybe two more group sessions where I help people strategize with their work teams for sales, business structure, all those types of things. Yeah, and the best way to get a hold of me is through the site or to text me, as I think that's going across on the ticker too at 916-668-0322. And I'll get back to you.
Thank you so much. And Dave, are there any final words for you or any final questions for Tiffany?
No, I think that you exemplify once again courage, initiative, and leadership. And so I appreciate all the things that you shared with us, and I think there's some great lessons and wisdom to be drawn from that from those who took part in the listening or watching this today. So thanks for spending time with us, Tiffany, and sharing those things with us.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you. And Tiffany, for yourself, are there any final words that you would like to share with anyone?
I would say just always listen to yourself. Put yourself first in all situations so you can be the best you for those that rely upon you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I feel like you've taken I feel like something's taken back in myself today after this conversation. It's like, okay, great. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for taking the time to be with us this evening. I know you could be anywhere in the world, and we do appreciate the time that you've spent with us tonight and here on Power Fridays Live. And I say go to takebackcoaching.com and get on Tiffany's list. Text her, let her know, hey, I'm interested. She's has limited spots available. And Tiffany, your next big event, is that planning for any time in the near future?
We've got some big things brewing on both sides for Vanguard Media Online and Take Back Coaching. I say just follow us so that you can stay on top of it.
Okay, great. Well, as we always say, be, do, and have the greatness that you desire because the greatness is in you. And with Tiffany Watkins, she can help you take back that spirit inside yourself so that you can see the greatness that you have. So next week, we will be back with another entrepreneur of the evening here on Power Fridays Live. We thank you so much for joining us. If you are watching this broadcast for the first time, please let us know. And if you're watching it on the replay, please hashtag replay. Thanks for joining us tonight for Power Fridays Live. Thank you very much, Tiffany. Always a pleasure, Dave. And you guys, you have a great weekend. And we will see you next week on Power Fridays Live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.